They sure do.
Yeah, I mean,
This is a lot of revenue.
Yeah, it is big.
all right.
Again, I still have the reservations because, again, I thought when you're grandfather, you don't change anything, blah, blah, blah. But it sounds like you guys have already, like, ironed out everything that
Yep.
has to be, and especially with Zach coming in too. So,
I had some also, I know we didn't get to Wayne, the end of Wayne, but we had some, I know the town has had concerns of the operation of the business that they're doing in the basement. And that's not a area to be doing business as far as egress and safety things go. And I just want to reiterate to the town that's not our intentions to work in the basement or anywhere in the facility other than doing retail functions. We don't do any manufacturing in any of our retail locations because that's why we have our warehouse in Auburn. We have a whole staff there that does just manufacturing and packaging. Interestingly enough, I'm in the process now of renewing our facility in Gardner, and in Gardner's renewal process and application process, you need letters from the local authorities and code enforcement and stuff like that, and I just brought them with me. They're very nice letters from the chief of police and from the code enforcement in Gardner. I understand it's Raymond, but it shows that we're trying hard in all towns.
Yeah, we don't like Gardner. No.
we drill Alex. We come looking for Alex if we don't. Yeah, it is just like right there.
So,
I also, that building, if we're just learning real quick too, because the ice cream store is going in next door, and there's supposed to be 4, I guess. How many units are in that building?
commercial units, I believe there's 2. I believe there's some residential units in the back.
In the back of it. And there's never been any kind of issues with the residential, with it being
Could not, cause what's not, I'm sure it's not zoned residential.
Yeah, no, it's commercial.
It's commercial.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
Okay. Any other questions?
So Wayne is going to go in and do your fire inspection when?
We did it yesterday.
You did it yesterday?
I did it yesterday, and we'll
They
be
gotta
doing
wait for
it.
change of ownership.
Yeah.
Do you know when that's going to be?
No, there's nothing.
I don't.
Nothing scheduled currently. They're gonna develop a floor plan, and they haven't got it yet, but they'll have a punch list like we always do of items that need to be corrected, and then we'll do a follow-up inspection to make sure that those things were corrected and can move forward with officially signing the business license.
So you guys have no idea when you're moving in there?
Well, I mean, I have a rough idea of,
You have your state license
we do.
for that location.
We do.
Okay.
I could probably, I mean, I'm depending on this guy getting all of his goods out of there. I mean, even if they dragged it out, I could see late June.
So you don't buy his inventory?
No,
That's not how it works on your
it's
business.
no, it's not.
Interesting.
All right.
So one thing that we do have, and I've forwarded on to code enforcement, is it's because it's a little different. You guys have never done this before because first of all, you don't allow moving forward, and this guy was grandfathered. So now there's a process with the state. That's a local authorization. So that's really why we're pushing to get on tonight's agenda and to be here, to at least get that put off. Other towns we've been in will issue the business license simultaneously with the state, or they'll, because that's a longer process than most. So getting that off gives us time to correct any actions with the code, with the fire, with anything licensing with the town. And then, nothing happens until you approve officially at the end when you sign off on the license and issue it.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to grant you a license that has restrictions on it until the fire inspection.
Correct. Yep.
And you're up to code.
Mm-hmm.
And that's pretty much what we do.
That's great. That's
So-
all I ask.
This is kind of a dumb question, and I think Zach can even answer this too, though. But because in case we've already said that we were grandfathered, not having anybody else come in, and now them opening up in that spot, and somebody else does want to open up, another spot somewhere else.
they can't.
It's- Right, because it's still under that thing, and they
Right.
can't technically come after us because they said we gave it to, favored you guys over something else, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Everybody had the opportunity to go in their building. They just made it first.
How'd you find out about that place? Or you don't have to answer.
Word of mouth.
I know the owner of, I don't know the owner of the property. I know the existing.
Owner of the business.
B&B.
Speaking of the owner of B&B and you, I thought Sue did an error in the name. Because
Oh.
you're Sean Bowie with a different S, and he's Sean Brody with a different Sean. Yeah.
I spell Sean correctly.
It's-
We knew you were a smart guy.
That's good. No, so, all right. Even with my reservations and thinking that we did this, I think we're in that place. I'm going to motion to approve the business license application of Rugged Roots South contingent upon all the licensing and inspections and everything else that have to be done.
I have a second.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? No, unanimous. Thank you.
Thank
for
you.
your
And
time.
thank you for the patience of answering all of our
Yeah.
questions.
Hey,
Yeah.
hey, we're used to it. Believe me, we've been around. Have a great evening.
You too.
Months ago, that's what's going to happen.
I've never heard of that, ever. That is the craziest.
It is crazy.
But if, yeah.
All
Exactly,
right.
BSS.
The other guy, he's totally shut out.
Right.
He what?
He'd have to go to another town. All right. New policy, fire department motor vehicle accident billing policy, Lee O'Connor. Deputy Fire Chief.
Yes, sir.
You need air conditioning. Yeah, you want to turn that on? Yeah.
Oh my God, I'm sitting here going, my face feels like it's burning up at the moment.
Is
Has everybody had a chance to review this?
All right.
Yes.
Sorry.
Reese!
Unbelievable.
Way to go. Way to reprimand. I like that.
So
Just a boomer.
in the past, under Dennis Morris, there was an enterprise account? Yes. Enterprise account that this used to be controlled by the finance. It was an account just to replace technical rescue equipment. The current policy that was in place allowed the fire department to have billed for $300. Did a lot of digging, a lot of research. It was really undercut. You can actually charge per apparatus with FEMA rates, and you'll see my scale in there. That is the FEMA rates with the appropriate personnel on the vehicle. And that accounts for mutual aid coming in on car accidents. This only pertains to car accidents. It allows us to have medical reimbursement, which we currently use, bill insurance companies for the cost of our use at a car accident for extrication, incident command, fires, and traffic control. This is all the legal sections that apply to it, what the purpose is to help not offset, but to, if we have to replace technical rescue equipment, airbags are 10-year shelf life, harnesses are 10 years. This is a way to offset it and have that funds replace those items as they come due. Air struts, extrication equipment.
Are we missing a page or something? Because
I don't see the
nothing
fees.
in here on rates.
That was what I was going to ask.
It's,
Yeah,
It's
did I not include a page from the fee schedule in your e-packet?
No.
that one too.
That's my bad. He did have the rates originally in the policy, and I moved it to the fee schedule. I can bring that up and share it on the screen, I believe.
So,
Did you use last year's numbers to kind of go off to establish, or did you use other towns'
I used
numbers to establish?
I used FEMA rates for wilderness fires, which is set by the federal government. I used rates from Heartland, Presque Isle, Poland, what they're charging for. This is money that's not guaranteed. Some insurance companies pay without an issue. There's a couple that don't, but if you build in good reporting, you never usually have an issue. They're done automatically. Same as EMS reports, they're right there and it's taken care of. So it's no expense really to us, the medical reimbursement. So for an engine, it's $350 per hour, minimum 1 hour. An aerial truck is $500. An ambulance is $200. A squad truck is a rescue truck, not a heavy rescue, but a medium-sized rescue, is $400. The reason I added that in there is we have a rescue pumper coming. They'll be here in 24, 25. So I'll rather put it in there now and not be behind the 8 ball. Service truck or command vehicle, chief's vehicle, my vehicle, and it's $100 per hour.
Are we double dipping on the ambulance because we're already picking that up under the medical?
Totally different.
Well, I understand that, but they're going to see 2 bills for ambulance.
No,
This would count for the ones that did not transport but treated on
Right.
scene.
Oh, there we go.
so if we transported,
Let's see if I can make it.
the ambulance would not be part of that because that's its own entity. That's a medical reimbursement for medical, not for standby.
Okay, so and this is on a lot of the insurance things, like the insurance companies are down in Florida and everywhere else, and they're not with the doctors up here in Maine, and they only charge what they think it should be. So I know if my insurance would say, hey, you got double billed for that. But what if the car accident was not your fault? Somebody T-bones you, slams into you, but everybody's there.
That is a great question because on the accident reports that we get from the sheriff's department, there will be a number 1 on the form, who is responsible. That's how they look at it. Medical reimbursement will get that form, the accident form. They'll list out the vehicles involved and list out how they did the report, who was at fault. It goes to the person at fault.
But a couple years ago, I got in an accident in Casco, and he says, we don't lay fault anymore. The insurance companies fight it out. So is that still the case?
We're not a no-fault state.
Right.
Right.
Well, that's what happened. And we ended up having to sue the guy that came up beside me, and yeah.
That's the guy that hit you was from New York.
Maybe even Florida.
No, I mean,
Oh, I thought you were being...
No, I'm serious, because there's certain, if the person that hit you comes from a no-fault state, then that's correct. If it was a Maine person hitting a Maine person, we're not a no-fault state, so therefore it goes that way.
Okay, and then the other question I have, it shows my ignorance to be honest, being at Quick Care in Wyndham, I don't know, a couple months ago, a guy was having diabetes, mega, and they had to take him by ambulance, but they sent the ladder truck too. So if he's there and they're sending him by ambulance and the ladder truck's there, is that something that's going to happen where there's no ladder truck whatsoever that you'd have to pay for that too, for like a medical emergency?
This is only car accidents.
Only car accident.
Only car accidents.
Okay. You just mentioned something about fire though.
So Teresa, they send an engine or something.
Sorry. Well, yeah, 'cause
Many towns, including Raymond, if it's a critical call, we send a fire engine or extra staff for the call.
okay.
It's not, they're not billed for that engine or anything. But
It's more
what
for the
Lee's
staff.
talking about is just your car accident, so it doesn't, you never get charged for that fire truck that goes on an ambulance call.
Okay. All right.
So Rolf, you found the,
Yeah, under section, what was it? Under the billing section, I think Sue is corrected in the form that we'll sign, but essentially what I did is I said, remove the name medical reimbursement in Wyndham
Right.
to the town's contracted.
Oh,
yeah.
Because if we name an individual thing there and then some reason we decide to change
Right.
companies, then we have to change the policy.
I think Kathy changed that.
that's perfect. I agree with that 100%. Makes perfect sense.
Yeah,
Oh.
they did that this
Is
afternoon.
it changed on that, on F,
With you, I'm sorry.
No, you're fine.
section F?
Town of Raymond contracted with a medical billing company. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Yeah, that just makes it easier down the road.
Oh, thank you. And I agree with that.
I actually talked to my husband about this too. He says it's a great idea to be able to
We've been doing
Yeah.
it, this just isn't all for.
To get it back,
Just
get the
more
money
of
back.
you setting it in policy.
All right, so motion to approve the fire department motor vehicle accident billing service policy as written.
Have a second?
Second.
Second. Any further discussion? All in favor? Unanimous? Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for answering questions, too.
All right, next is
Web route security.
web route security training.
Okay, this is annual training, at least annual training, and that is required mostly because of our insurance cost. We have, or that's one of the reasons for technology insurance. It costs more if we don't have some sort of training to teach folks. And Kevin gave me some websites that I pulled a little bit of information for, which is, and very little, because I'm trying not to extend this much. But phishing is by far the biggest threat to IT security and can cause delays and expensive downtime, theft of sensitive information, and account takeovers through credential theft. When users are well trained on cybersecurity awareness, an organization's risk of falling victim to a cyber attack can decrease as much as 70%. A Stanford University study found that 88% of all data breaches are caused by employee mistakes. There was a recent study that was done and presented at a large security conference. It showed that both annual and twice per year training is not enough. People can quickly forget what they've learned in as little as 6 months if the message of cybersecurity is not reinforced.
Do we have cybersecurity insurance?
We do.
Good. Because everybody's getting their ass kicked right now, big time.
Yeah.
I mean, big time. It's it's ludicrous.
And this particular training is going to be rolled out to all employees who are not just employees, let me back up, all people who can affect the town's network, which is anyone that uses an @raymondmaine.org email or signs in on a town PC at all. I've taken the training, the web route. It's 5 to 10 minutes at the most. So far, all of them that I've done, and that was in the first round that we did, when was that, a little more than a year ago, I think.
I mean, is it good training? Did
it's
you
good-
get
it's-
something from
it's-
it?
it's
I
good,
mean,
yeah,
it's
that-
great to have it 5 or 10 minutes, but
Yeah.
the important piece is getting something out of it that you're going to be able to use and go away with. And
Well,
Yeah,
it's
and-
more it's more the repetitive of it. You know, you keep putting it up there, then people, you know, it becomes front of mind.
Are you
it's too-
mandating the training for your employees?
Yes,
So they have to sign off that they've done the training?
they get a
or
certificate,
Okay.
and they give that to me.
Not only them,
It logs it through the system.
But
they're saying
the
us
answer-
too,
but the
because
answer-
we have a Raymond.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it's the employees, it is the committee members, it's appointed as well as elected committees. It's whoever is touching our systems, whether.
But
it be-
you can't mandate boards to do it. You can
We can
mandate your
suggest-
employees.
but we can
And you can
suggest-
suggest your boards do it.
And I can ask nicely and politely,
Right.
please do. But to answer Lonnie's question, I've been working with IT areas for, oh goodness, over 30 years, and have had a lot of training in all kinds of security. This one's the best one I've ever seen.
nice.
And even
Great.
with my experience, I have gotten something out of each one, whether it be something new, because people are always spending a lot of time and energy to come up with new ways to mess up your systems, or
is it worth
something that
us-
just simply reminds us.
Is it worth us to have it mandatory if you have a raymondmaine.org email? If you use
can't
your own,
mandate non-employees.
Yeah.
even if they, but if you use a raymondmaine.org email, that doesn't.
Are you,
So you better kick them off
Joe
their
thinks it's a
committee
great
if they don't
idea,
do it.
yes.
What's that?
He doesn't.
You better kick them off their committee if they don't
Right.
do the training.
Right.
I'm with you. I'm just throwing it out there.
But
Just-
when-
I know
when-
that everyone should do it because it'll
I mean,
help you personally.
we mandate it for our employees, so, yeah. Do I have a certificate somewhere? Probably. Can I find it? Probably not. But
Well, I think if it's the same one, if it's the same system as last year, the system logs it. You get a certificate, but it logs it in the system
Right.
that you've been there, you've taken that
Yeah.
unit.
Yes.
If you get zapped and you cause the security issues, we're all going to look and point at you.
I get
and
more
laugh.
crap through my Raymond Maine website
I know.
than I do through work, believe
Well,
me.
okay, so one of the other things that really should be done is for any new employee, that the letters that they get from the select board asking for money or cards, because that happens all the time. And for people that don't know us, because
We're not.
Rolf never
We're
says
never gonna give
regards
anyone
on his
money.
emails, and they'll say, hey, I need a big favor of you, yeah.
So,
So that's something,
Or they want a direct deposit change form.
yeah, yeah.
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 so you
That's
take
good.
those certificates, put them in their personnel file, and so you know who's gone through the training.
So will you pass it out as to who, where, what thing it is?
So I think when we spoke, Susan, Sue, you said that everybody will get an email to click on a link and take the
Yes.
training.
And the email that you get will inside have the Raymond seal, so you'll know it's that.
Really, from Raymond?
Yeah,
I
really from
deleted my
Raymond.
last one thinking it
Last
was-
time,
yeah.
half the employees, and I was one of them,
Yeah.
pitched it because I thought it was spam.
Right.
Yep, did the same thing.
They're going to come out next week from my email.
Okay.
Yeah, well, so do my requests for monies come from my email, and it ain't me.
And you're telling me it's 5 minutes?
It's 5.
7 and a half.
But most
They're
of them are around 5 minutes, and
How many are there?
I don't know, last time we did maybe 8 or 10 altogether. There's like,
But they were
they
spread-
came out every few days, and
That's good.
they
Depends how
they aren't
fast you can
bad.
click.
Yeah. Yes, okay. Got it. All right, consideration of Spirit America Award.
And I only put my name on it because Dawn wasn't here to put on it. I received an email asking for the select board to consider nominating someone. I'm not sure what you folks would like to do with that.
We'll consider it.
Okay. Thank
How, when do you need it by?
you. They want to have it before the end of June. So it
Okay.
would be probably by the next meeting. Would you like me to add it to the agenda? Or do you?
Not
want to
at this
decide?
moment, we'll consider it.
Okay, perfect.
All right, public comment. Anybody on Zoom want a public comment?
Either the Graysons.
I have no one raising hands.
All right,
Oh,
Oh, wait, we
Oh,
do.
Grace did.
I don't, oh, there we go.
That's not great.
Thank you so much. Thank you for your patience there. Good evening. My name is Gracie Levitt. My pronouns are she, her, and I live at 8 Levitt Road in Raymond, the traditional land of the Wabanaki Confederacy. I want to respond tonight to a number of items I heard during the April 11th meeting, raised during the public comment period, as well as responded to by some members of the board during selectmen comment. At the last meeting, Shar Jewell, a member of the RSU 14 school board, spoke as a Raymond citizen on the subject of book challenges that are ongoing in the RSU and which have been the subject of much discussion for the past few months, particularly at RSU 14 school board meetings, just as they have been at school board meetings across the country for the past couple of years. Ms. Jewell said, quote, "Over the last several months, public participation in the school board meetings has increased, but we are not seeing enough voices from Raymond. I want to visibilize that I and a number of others from our town have indeed spoken at these meetings, though we haven't all agreed with each other. Meanwhile, given what Ms. Jewell went on to detail in her public comment, I'll say I hear this call for more participation from Raymond as a call for more voices who agree with her. Ms. Jewell said, quote, "Every child is innocent," and continued on to reference ways in which ostensibly it was easier to be a kid 30 plus years ago. Back then, she said, all we had to worry about was to be home by dinner time and have good grades in school. But it's not true that that's all every child had to worry about back then, just as it is not true that every child has had the privilege of innocence. I point this out because I think it's very important that we be skeptical of such descriptions so generalized and so rose-colored as to be inaccurate, apocryphal, imagined, particularly given what these descriptions are being used to justify. Ms. Jewell went on to ask how much damage can information children are not ready for due to their development, and seemingly posed the answer, children with anxiety, depression, ADHD, general behavior problems, the numbers are growing. but I'll pose a few other possible answers. Perhaps we've increased and improved our rates of diagnosis. Perhaps we've expanded our understanding of mental health struggles. Perhaps a pandemic, climate disaster, gun violence unchecked by Congress, and an unprecedented surge of anti-LGBTQIA+ legislation and legislation limiting reproductive rights could be to blame, with all of these disproportionately impacting the most vulnerable, including disenfranchised children. Ms. Jewell said, I think we can all agree that at least some of the materials presented so far absolutely are not acceptable in our schools. I, for one, don't agree. She said teaching children how to have sex is not the same as sex education to protect them from the dangers of sexual activity. I, for one, don't believe the sole purpose of sex education is to protect kids from danger, but also to empower them with information about their bodies and to enable informed decision-making. She said sexualization of children is a crime and should not be conducted or supported in schools, that support, respect, and affirmation of LGBTQIA+ children should not include pornography for children. I agree that sexualization of children and pornography should have no place in our schools, but the books so far discussed constitute neither of these. And I wish for more of us to understand these national challenges of books that reflect the world in which we live, that speak to our history with candor, and that seek to counter the hate and harm our young people too often face today, to be the political dog whistles that they are. Toward the end of her remarks, Ms. Jewell said, I am speaking today to ask Raymond residents to start investing their time into the future of our community, our children. On this, we agree. I'm going to call especially on those among us who are allies to LGBTQIA+ youth, to the BIPOC community, who are allies to assault survivors, to girls and women, to show up and speak out for historically marginalized storytelling. While the RSU 14 school board voted last week to keep the book Genderqueer in the library, additional books are still moving through the book challenge process. And I imagine topics such as gender identity education, honoring affirming pronouns, and more will continue to be actively discussed, so your voices are needed. I'll make just a few more points here, turning to the minutes from the April 11th meeting. First, I happen to find the description of Ms. Jewell's comment as concerning protecting children from inappropriate materials in school libraries to be a non-neutral description of her remarks. That is, in my opinion, the description seems to endorse the perspective that these materials are indeed inappropriate and that children need protection from them. Second, I believe the minutes must be amended, since next to selectmen comment, the minutes currently indicate none, whereas several board members indeed spoke during this period, with several thanking and supporting Ms. Jewell. Indeed, Mr. Gifford said to Ms. Jewell, I think we all agree with you too. I'll say, I wonder if this is true and who all Mr. Gifford was speaking for. All of the selectmen, all of the citizens of Raymond, me, I certainly don't agree. And I wonder if anyone else who feels their opinion may have been glossed over or misrepresented by this statement would feel so compelled to clarify their own perspective. I understand you may not respond during public comment, but as you address Ms. Jewell's remarks during selectman comment, perhaps each of you will consider clarifying your own perspectives on the topic later this evening. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else on public comment? Selectman comment.
Just one thing. Talking to Chris Howell the other day, I believe, and Rolf can confirm this too, that they have pushed the school building out another year till 2027 is what he told me. He's been under the advisement of their construction team that if they try to do it now and the time they want to do it, it's going to be way expensive. And so they're advising them to move it out a year.
Well, you haven't had a building committee meeting since, so I'm not, I cannot,
maybe I shouldn't
I cannot
have dropped
confirm
that
or
one?
deny, because we have not had a building committee meeting for a month.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. I didn't know if that was, he'll probably sorry. I don't know if I should have dropped that one.
Any other selectman comment?
No.
I would like to just address Gracie Levitt and say I try to thank everybody who comes up for public comment, and whether I agree with them or not, that's up to me. But I thank everyone that comes up, and you're entitled to your opinion, and I thanked you tonight, Gracie, for sharing your opinion. So, all right.
Town manager report.
Town manager report.
I spoke to Don today. Poor guy's going through a lot. I asked him not to come back for at least a month, that he could work from home and try and heal that leg, because it's going to take him a long time.
Yes.
So, and we wish him well. The next selectmen meeting, I'm looking at June 19th. I have 2 commitments on the 20th and 21st. So is everyone okay on that Monday, the 19th? Election day is what day?
The 13th.
The 13th. So,
Yeah, as long as I'm here, I'm good.
Yeah, I'm good.
so,
Yeah.
so Monday, the 19th will be the next selectmen meeting.
5:30.
Monday?
At 5:30.
Yeah, Monday.
On that Monday. And I think we have a few things with Alex to deal with that I'm aware of that will be brought forth. Okay.
You know that's a holiday?
That's Juneteenth.
We're having
What's
a
the
meeting
holiday?
on Monday the 19th, yeah.
It's the chief's birthday.
Is it? Good, bring a cake, will you?
Well, yeah, today's Nathan's birthday, and you see that he's nowhere.
He's
to be
nowhere,
found.
yeah.
His wife is cooking him dinner.
Oh, good.
Wow.
If you can see the picture he put on Facebook of a colander on his hat or as a helmet for a motorcycle, that was good. Yeah, that was, just see that.
Hey,
Yeah,
we're gonna try really hard not to have a July meeting,
I'm fine with that.
okay? So,
All right, let's go.
all right, why don't we do into executive session on the
Which one?
code enforcement?
Motion to go into executive session pursuant to 1 MRSA, Section 405, 6E.
Second?
All those in
Discussion.
favor?
Yeah, first reading.
Okay.
Okay.
You applied for a scholarship.
Motion to come out of executive session.
Second.
Second?
All in favor? Okay,
Motion to go back into executive session.
Second.
under,
Oh, pursuant to MRSA 1, Section 405, 6F, consideration and award of scholarship applications and student recognition.
Second.
all in favor? Okay.
Move to come out of executive session?
Second.
All in favor?
Second.
Move to adjourn?
Second.
All in favor? Thank you very much.
So welcome to the April 3rd, 2023 Zoning Board of Appeals meeting of the town of Raymond. The Zoning Board of Appeals will come to order. The board does have a quorum. I'm now going to do a roll call, starting with myself, David Murch,
Greg Dean.
Tom Hennessy.
Fred Muller, Pete Lockwood. Excuse me, this is a public proceeding, and unless the board specifically votes to go into executive session, you have the right to hear everything that is being said and to look at all of the exhibits that are presented. Please notify the chair if you are unable to see or to hear. The board works from a published agenda and will be considering tonight's items in the following order. Number 1, call to order. Number 2, approval of minutes from October 18, 2022, October 25th, 2022, and November 1st, 2022. Item 3, review and approval of March 18, 2023 site walk report. Number 4, old business, of which we have none. Number 5, new business. Administrative appeal, re 402 Webbs Mills Road, applicant Sally Cheever, location 402 Webb Mills Road, owner Starrat. Description, administrative appeal of commercial use. Number 6, code enforcement officer communications. And then finally, number 7, adjournment. In each instance, the burden is upon the applicant to demonstrate compliance with the provisions of the applicable ordinances or state law. After the board votes on the merits of each application, it will prepare a written notice of decision. Because the notice of decision may substantially affect any appeals rights, and also as a matter of courtesy, the board asks that all of those attending the meeting with regards to a specific application not leave until the board has completed its discussion. Generally speaking, appeals from adverse decisions must be filed with the Superior Court as otherwise provided by law within 45 days of this board's decision. Also, to be certain that you preserve your individual rights to file any such appeal, you must be certain that the board's record evidences your appearance this evening in opposition and the basis for your opposition. All persons speaking, including representatives of the applicant and members of the public, are asked to state their name, their address, and their affiliation with the application, either being for, opposed, or neutral. All persons speaking shall address all remarks or questions to the chair. This meeting is not over until the board has formally adjourned. Any discussion not included on the meeting agenda or accepted by the board is to be held until after adjournment or conducted outside the meeting room. So, first up on our agenda is approval of minutes, October 18, October 25th, and November 1st. Board, have you had a chance to review, and do you have any comments?
Looked at them, Dave, and I'm all set.
I reviewed them also, David, and I'm all set.
Okay, so I have a motion then to accept the minutes for all. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Any further discussion? So roll call vote. David Murch in favor of accepting. Yes.
Greg Dean in favor.
Tom Hennessy in favor.
Fred Miller, yes.
Pete Lockwood, yes.
Okay. Item 3, review and approval of the March 18, 2023 site walk reports. This was for the Star property. And again, board, have you all had a chance to review? Any comments? Clarifications?
I've had a chance to look at it, Dave. I don't have any questions.
I've reviewed it, David, and I don't have any questions either.
Okay, I'm good with that. I know, Greg, you are.
Yep.
So Tom, I'm assuming you're just gonna go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
Yep, I read it. I'm good.
Excellent. So do I have a motion to accept the submitted site walk report?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, any further discussion? We'll go ahead and take a vote. David Merchant, approval of accepting the site walk report.
Greg Dean approved.
Tom Hennessy approved.
Fred Miller, yes.
Pete Lockwood, yes.
Okay, next on the agenda is old business, of which we have none. So we will now go into our new business. Administrative appeal for 402 Webb Mills Road, applicant Sally Cheever, location 402 Webb Mills Road, owner Starrat, description, administrative appeal of commercial use. So to assist the board tonight is attorney Stephen Wagner. Attorney Wagner, do you want to go ahead and sort of introduce yourself and sort of talk through how you see things proceeding with regards to this agenda item?
Sure. Thank you, Chairman Murch. Pleasure to see you all again this evening. All of you were present for some prior appeals, and so I'm going to suggest a similar process for going over those appeals, though given the different circumstances here and only one appeal versus 8 or so, and a slightly less evidentiary burden, I don't think we need to be quite as formulaic. So I'll summarize how I see the evening proceeding, and of course it's at the discretion of the chair if you want to follow that approach or take a slightly different approach. But this is a de novo hearing of a decision of a code enforcement officer. So per section 6.2a, it's de novo. 6.3c explains what that means, and I think it does a good job of that, which is essentially that the board may receive and consider new evidence and testimony, be that oral or written, and the board shall hear and decide the matter afresh, undertaking its own analysis of the evidence and making factual findings, applying the law, and drawing your conclusions from that. I think there are 2 key points to remember in a de novo review. You owe no deference to the CEO, so you can certainly assess the credibility of his testimony and the evidence, but you do not owe any particular deference. And the second is that the appellant, the party that has brought the appeal, has the burden of proof here. So in terms of the sequence of presentation, as our usual practice, we have some preliminary findings to make, specifically that there's a quorum, that the application is timely, complete, go over any biases or conflicts, and then establish jurisdiction and standing. At that point, I suggest that we turn it over to the parties, beginning with the appellant to present their case without interruption, allow questions
Good evening and welcome to the Wednesday, June 14th, 2023 Planning Board for the Town of Raymond. The board will come to order. The board does have a quorum. We'll start with roll call. Down with you, Mike.
Mike Richmond.
Mike D'Arcangelo.
Greg Foster.
Robert O'Neill.
Edward Kranich.
And via Zoom.
Kevin Woodbury.
This is a public proceeding, and unless the board specifically votes to go into executive session, you have the right to hear everything that is being said and to look at all the exhibits that are presented. Please notify the chair if you're unable to see or hear. The board works from a published agenda and will be considering tonight's items in the following order. We have the minutes from the April 12th, 2023 meeting. We have a subdivision review with the applicant of Diane Potvin, a subdivision review with the applicants Stephen and Hilda Clark, and an amendment to an approved subdivision, which is a public hearing this evening from Peter and Donna Marcinuk. How they do?
Did well.
Did well. Followed by new business. Is Chris coming tonight? See Chris Hansen to speak regarding impact fees? Is that still happening? Sandy? Do we know?
Chris won't be there, but Alex is going to handle it for him.
Okay. Followed by staff communications and any updates. The board's, in each instance, the burden is upon the applicant to demonstrate compliance with the provisions of the applicable ordinances or state law. All persons speaking, including representatives of the applicant and members of the public, are asked to stand at the microphone, state their name, address, and affiliation with the application. All persons speaking shall address the chair. All conversations must be held in abeyance until after the board has formally adjourned. After a board votes on the merits of each applicant, it will prepare a written notice of decision, because the notice of decision may substantially affect any appeals rights, and also as a matter of courtesy, the board asks that those attending the meeting with regard to a specific application not leave until the board has completed its discussion. Appeals from adverse decisions must be filed with the Superior Court or as otherwise provided by law within 45 days of this board's decision. Also, to be certain that you preserve your individual right to file such an appeal, you must be certain that the board records evidences of your appearance this evening. All right. First item is our approval of minutes on the April 12th.
Move to accept the minutes as written.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Kevin? Passes. Passed. And next up is our first subdivision review. The Tranquil Cove is, I assume, still being called that. Give a second here. Tranquil Cove. Jim, would you start us off?
Sure. This, I think the first motion you may want to make, I think we tabled this.
We have tabled it. Yeah, okay, we should.
From the table.
Yep.
I move that we take it off the table.
Second.
The motion is to remove the subdivision Tranquil Cove application from the table. Is there any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Kevin goes yes. Done. Thanks, Jim.
Yep, so this is before you tonight for final approval. The applicant has responded to all our comments. I think there are a few things, but it may be easier for the applicant to go through these one by one, and then we can discuss and further have discussion.
Okay. Yeah, I got that. You're up, Bill.
All right.
Hello.
I can hear you. I don't know if the...
There's only
Yep,
two.
you're good.
Yeah, I don't think
Yep,
Good.
okay.
Okay, great. Good evening. I'm Bill Thompson, BH2M Engineers, project manager for applicant Diane Potvin. As Jim said, we've been here for a few meetings. The last meeting in April, we had a few items to tweak and to revisit and come back with a new submission. So we put plans and responses back into you May 9th, and then I had Jim's review comments June 7th to present tonight. In Jim's memo, I think reading through it, most of the items meets the criteria. There was an item under O and P about the stream. We did not have the stream shown up here on the corner of Lot 2, which comes off of the abutting property. It doesn't, we have it shown now with setbacks, and it doesn't impact Lot 2 because it's up above the vernal pool limitations, so that stream has been shown correctly. The detail on the drip edge was talked about around the foundation, working on the stormwater issues, and that does have an impervious liner, which is a requirement if you don't have the coverage over groundwater. So that detail on sheet 2 has the impervious liner shown. We had a couple of notes on the plan that we changed or updated. Plan note number 28 is about all the roads in the subdivision. Let me get my final small copy. I can read it. Here we go.
Remains private.
All roads in the subdivision shall remain private and maintained by the lot owners until such time the road is accepted by the town. Note 29 was added. Approval shall expire if the project does not commence within 2 years and completed within 4. And then note 30 talks about the landscape plan shall be accomplished with the fact that this site is a wooded site. My letter on May 9th highlights some of the items so I can go down through them. We expanded plan note, it says 9, but I believe it was plan note 8, that the total parcel area and then the open space was shown that it is part of that acreage. Plan note 17 added the maximum clearing allowed for lot 3, meeting the ordinance. Plan note 27 added the reference that the unrecorded lotting plan was reviewed and accepted. But it's an unrecorded plan. Plan note 28 added the reference to the road again. We just talked about that, about the private. Plan note 30 added to qualify the site as a landscape plan. We talked about that. The existing 15-foot wide easement along Raymond Cape Road was part of the original subdivision and survey. There was a 15-foot easement out here, basically for site distance accessing the property, which has been looked at. We have increased the well zones from any subsurface disposal system from 100 to 125 feet. We talked about that a little bit. Is it a holdover from the past? Because that's not what the state requires. But again, it doesn't impact the lots, so we've shown the 125. Labeled setbacks on lot 2 associated with the vernal pool is the 100-foot setback and then the 250-foot setback. And we've demonstrated that that does not impact the ability for that lot to be developed, and everybody has agreed to that. We've labeled the lot on the south side of the eastern painted Turtle Road as Lot 3. Buffer irons are shown on the plan for all vernal pool setbacks and forested buffers, and those will be set prior to any construction on any of the lots. The proposed open space was a 10% number that has been identified in this piece right here coming off eastern painted Turtle Road. Reference in the erosion control, there was a typo of when do you need to have an inspection. It's after every 1 inch of precipitation. We had the turning radiuses reviewed by the fire chief and safety officer, and they comfortably allow that 40-foot truck to come and go in either direction at either turnaround. So I believe that satisfies the Wayne Jones, the fire inspector. I believe that's all I have to bring it up. There weren't too many issues, nothing major, and again, we're here requesting the consideration of a final approval. Everybody's anxious to get going on construction. So, if there are any other questions, I'll certainly try to answer those.
I think last time we had a question about where the vertical datum came from.
Yep.
For the topography.
Yep, there's a note on the plan now that was put on after submission. And the 100-year flood shown here is a NAV 88. Yep. And there is a note 31, topographic based on the Maine State Database and 2-foot contour elevations, file number 19TDJ.
Okay,
thank you. What the state uses for reference.
Bill, is this an open space subdivision?
This is not.
No, but
No, okay.
because it's in the shoreland zone, it is required to have 10% open space.
Okay.
address, and maybe I just missed it, but the way the road sort of ends at Lot 2, is there any concern about, like, a fire truck having trouble turning around there?
The road actually continues on.
Well, the road keeps going?
Continues down with another turnaround.
Yeah, they just showed it on their parcel, but the road continues on.
We have two turnarounds, one here and one on the next piece.
Yep.
Thanks.
Sure.
Question, the plot I have, item number 17 towards the end, if the wetland on Lot 2 is a significant vernal pool, so on and so on, if that's been determined on Lot 2, do we still need that note?
It has been determined that it is a significant vernal pool, so the layout and the setbacks that we've demonstrated here will prevail.
Okay.
For that, yep.
But do we leave that note, or would that cause confusion?
I guess it really, it could come off.
Just take the if off.
If there were no other issues, I was hoping we could get a signed plan tonight, so I didn't want to have to change.
I think we can, yeah, I mean, you can sign the plan this evening if you approve it without any other further conditions, but we can capture that in the findings of fact.
Okay.
Because they have shown it correctly, the note, basically it's a Scribner thing, but.
You just scribble it out?
Could. Could.
Just an F.
Yep.
I have a question. If the road is up to standard, is that right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Certified.
For purposes of maintaining road, is there gonna be a road association?
There is one.
There
yes.
is one in place.
All parties need to play a part in that.
Bill, did you do, or did you verify, I know we've talked about it in public, but I don't know if we did receive anything on the road. Did you verify the depths of gravels and everything?
Yes, in 2008, we inspected, BH2M designed it, inspected it,
Okay.
and did all the certifications for the town at that time. I'm not sure who the players were at that time, but yes. And we've dug a couple of sample test pits, and since 2008, that road has held up really well. Not that it gets a lot of traffic, but there's a very, very decent gravel depth on that.
And it butts right into the property owned by Specialty Finance?
Yeah,
Is
it's
that correct?
still Spotted Turtle, Eastern Spotted Turtle Road continues on.
Yeah, that was all built as one road all the way in.
Yeah. But this parcel only deals with this portion of it.
Okay. Anyone else have any questions?
Good.
Good. Kevin, you have any questions?
No.
No. Jim, do you have any?
The only question I have is, and I know Alex was working with the attorneys on this, and there was a question outstanding which has to deal with this and the next submission you have with regards to the overall subdivision and whether or not they state it's unrecorded. Alex, I don't know if you had an opportunity to talk to the town's attorney. Does that need to be recorded? Is it okay to be unrecorded? Not that it changes anything in your approval here, but the overall lot plan they did for the whole, all of it.
Oh, okay, right, because it was from one.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
These
And I know we had to correct that. I was waiting to hear from the town's attorney whether that had to be recorded or not. And like I said, it's kind of a, you can make it condition one way or the other. I just want to be certain if Alex got an opinion on that. We're waiting.
So, yeah, so can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can.
Can't
Yeah,
see you.
so there's going to be a consent agreement at the end of this whole process that both Diane and the select board sign. And I think that will get recorded in the registry. I think the thought process is we could attach the plan as an attachment to that consent agreement. So it would end up in the registry that way.
And the
I
consent
think that's
agreement,
fine.
the consent agreement goes with the other project, right, Woodstone?
Yes, yep, with both.
All right, so as long as it gets caught in the other one, then we'll be okay.
Great, thanks.
I think that's fine, yeah.
So you don't have to worry about it for this one. It'll be attached to the next one.
Okay. What's the consent agreement for, Alex?
The slope, the road slope.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, well, it's for the road slope, but it's also for the subdivision violation in general.
Yeah.
Typically, violations, you conclude it with a consent agreement that explains what happened and what the end result is. And the end result here is, they'll get final approval for everything after the fact, basically. So it kind of just explains what happened and that everyone's all good to go.
So the road slope doesn't require a waiver because there's a consent agreement that's going to cover it, is that correct?
That's correct. You don't
Yes,
have the
correct. There
authority to
can't
make
be
the
a waiver for the road
Right.
slope.
That's why they had to get the
It
consent.
requires a consent agreement to do.
Okay,
Okay?
yep. Thanks, Alex.
Jim, on your comments, I think you had something about, there should be a note regarding the sewage disposal proposals to be addressed through the building permit. Does that need to be incorporated in the?
No, that's usually standard how we've done it recently,
Okay.
because we don't know exactly where all
Where
the
it's gonna be.
HEG 200 form will dictate where the house and the building goes. So
Right, we've
typically
shown the
make that
suitable
part of the-
soils.
So that's-
All we need is a passing test pit to prove that there's acceptable soils on the lot, and then it's up to them to design it when they do the home as part of the building permit.
Okay, so we have testing pits
Yep.
shown in here?
Yes,
Yep,
all-
you
all-
do.
all the
Yep,
lots.
and that's been provided previously.
And as far as the financial and technical capacity for the completion,
Yeah, the only thing that will be involved here is the new turnaround.
Right.
so there isn't.
There's nothing
significant
really
amount
on this
left
one.
to
It's gonna be
do.
a
Okay.
small amount of money to
Yeah.
get that gravel turnaround, so I felt that was not a.
The only thing with that would be, you could put a condition in that needs to be completed before occupancy.
And that'd be fine.
Okay.
And I don't know, Wayne, is that something you'd want to see? You're on mute, Bob.
Sorry about that. Yes, that would be something that we'd want to see.
Yeah, that's acceptable.
Are you okay with everything else, Wayne?
Yes, everything else was good. We didn't do the E91 addressing on the plan. How do we want to handle that, Jim?
Ooh.
Just that permitting?
That's on here.
It is on here?
Note
I didn't
19?
see it.
No
No,
numbers
no.
assigned yet.
What we wanted was, we wanted the address for the individual lots. We were gonna
Oh.
start trying to do that on the plans. But I think we just incorporated that, didn't we, into our revisions?
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if it actually applies to this one, but we can capture that at permitting, Wayne. On this one, we'll capture it at permitting, but going forward with the new revisions, the addresses will be required on the subdivisions.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that would be
Saves a lot of
assigned
confusion.
by the assessor's office to us to put on.
Correct, yeah.
We wouldn't.
What we're
assign.
trying to do, just like you know and the public know, is that we're trying to get the addresses put on the subdivision plan that's recorded, because what happens is, when you order power or any kind of utility, they want an address.
Yeah,
And
what's
the
your
address is
street
not
number?
usually issued until you come in for a building permit, so this one's kind of was in process before that change, so we'll go with it, but going forward, we'll make sure all the other ones.
We can always make Bill come back. He's pretty.
He loves coming
Yeah,
back.
he does.
He does like us.
You're a good group. You're a good group.
Jim, I think we've done the public hearing on this, so I think we're all set for that.
We're all set on that, but I just didn't know if it was gonna be a continuation, so.
Okay. That one's okay.
No, we didn't get any interest in the last one.
No.
Yeah.
I know there's some people in the audience, I don't know if they're here for that or other things, so.
All right.
Right, so we don't really even have any conditions for the approval in this.
Other than the hammerhead has to be completed
Oh.
prior to occupancy,
Okay.
prior to any new building permit occupancy, home building permit occupancy.
Then you're gonna capture the addresses. You don't need to,
We'll capture that as part of the permitting process on this one.
okay.
We'll do the old way on this one, but going forward, we have to.
And you're going to, the vernal pool thing, you'll capture at the
We'll capture that with the findings of fact.
IFAX, okay?
They have it, it's correct, it's just that the verbiage says if, and if they wanna cross it out, then we can cross it out and still sign.
Yeah.
Hey, Jim,
Yes,
so the issues for the fire department, that will be captured in your findings of fact too?
yeah, are there any outstanding issues? I think they've got everything, they've got the signs shown on the plan.
Yep, everything else was good.
Okay,
Just those two items.
but I can just reference your memo still and add it, as I typically do.
Yep, the April 7th memo.
Okay.
Good.
Everybody happy?
Yep.
Yeah. Jim, happy?
Happy.
All right.
Okay, I move that we accept the Tranquil Cove Acres plan as it is, with a condition that the hammerheads be completed before permitting of the home construction. Is that?
Yep.
Yep.
Occupancy of home construction.
Second. That was our only condition?
Yeah.
I
it?
think so.
All right, any discussion? All those in favor? Kevin?
Aye.
All right, done.
Great. The only other question I have on this one, where it's in the shoreland zone, I don't know if you want to do a separate motion that it complies with shoreland zoning. I mean, we've met it all. It's implied to the
Yeah,
subdivision
I think
process,
it's-
or I can capture it in the findings of fact.
That would be fine.
Okay. I'll just imply that it's, the board, with its approval, complies with shoreline zoning. Because you
Yeah.
kind of have that in there where it meets other zoning under the subdivision standards.
Right.
Complies with comprehensive and other zoning, so I'll just add it in that section. Which I think is, I did.
Well, why don't we just add it as a friendly amendment to the motion, and then you'll be covered. Yep.
Perfect.
So we will just add to your motion a friendly amendment that the project also conforms to the review requirements for the shoreline zoning.
Yes.
Okay, yes, accepted, seconded. All those in favor? That, Kevin?
Aye.
Okay, done.
Did you capture all that, Sandy? It went by quick.
She's still writing.
I think I've got it, but if I have to, I'll listen back.
Okay, well, it was kind of a, I think Ed second.
Kevin seconded it, and Greg?
Yeah.
Greg?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Greg
Just
accepted the amendment.
amendment portion is what I was getting at.
Yes.
Okay.
second.
Yeah.
All right, moving on.
I motioned for the friendly amendment. Greg accepted. Ed seconded.
Got it.
There was a time when we went through every one of those, you know,
I
remember?
like the new time.
Yeah, and it didn't, I mean, unless it's kind of a
It's controversial.
controversial, yeah,
Exactly.
particular point, or if it needs, one of those steps needs a waiver, I just as soon jump it all together.
Yep. You'll have another crack at making sure it's all legit at the findings. So.
Yeah, exactly.
So you have approval, we will do the finding of fact at the next meeting. Okay, great.
All right, next up is the subdivision review for the applicants Stephen and Hilda Clark.
This is Woodstone.
Woodstone Manor. Major.
And this one was also, I believe, tabled.
This was tabled, yes.
Would you like a microphone?
This was not working, or?
No, just for when you're talking.
You've been captured.
You've left the podium, Bill.
You drifted aimlessly.
I do that all the time.
You get docked points for that. All right, Jim, do you want to start us?
Yes, this is Woodstone subdivision off Raymond Cape. It adjoins the property we were just looking at. They are proposing.
Oh, I'm sorry. We gotta get off the table first.
Oh.
You got it first. It is on the table. We need a motion to take the Woodstone major subdivision off of the table.
So moved.
Moved and seconded by?
Second.
Greg, all those in favor? Kevin? Okay,
Aye.
done. Naps. Sorry, Jim.
Okay, so this is a 5-lot subdivision. This was before you back in April, with the issue being, which is what we just discussed in the previous application, the road slope exceeded the shoreline zoning regulations. So where the board was unable to grant a waiver for that, they did receive a consent agreement with the town selectmen. That has to be executed as part of what Alex was discussing, along with the recording of the overall holdings of Diane Potvin, which will be done in the same consent agreement. So if we approve this tonight, those will have to be made conditions before we can do anything. So this is a private road, again, has 2 hammerheads. They have brought back their materials and replied to many of the things We also received their stormwater permit from DEP, so I've asked them to make that referenced in the approval of the notes on the plan, so we have reference to that in the plan. Again, I'll let Bill kind of go through everything, but it appears that for the overall, they've met many of these comments that we had previously, and any of those that they have replied to or still have outstanding work to do, let's take him up after he gives his brief presentation.
Okay. Yeah, now, I do have one question, I guess, for the consent agreement.
Maybe Alex.
Alex, the consent agreement that's covering the road grade has not been executed, is that correct?
That's correct. It was approved by the select board, voted on and approved. However, it hasn't been signed by both parties yet. So I did try to reach Diane's attorney a couple of times this week, just to make sure that they're all set. From what I've heard from our attorney, they have no problem signing that consent agreement, and there is a small fee that comes with that. So as far as I know, it's going to work out fine. But I would say for tonight with this one, you would just want to make sure that, I don't know if it should be a note on the plan or something referencing that consent agreement, but we would want to tie it in somewhere.
Well, the consent agreement is for both subdivisions, correct? Or is that?
It is.
It impacts
It is for
both
both.
subdivisions, but it can be applied to one or the other. We got to capture it in either one or the other subdivision. So we're going to capture it in this one because we have a consent agreement.
Right.
This was a subdivision violation, so that plan addresses the violation of the subdivision, which also impacted the other one we just approved.
Right.
But we're capturing that along with the consent for the road slopes in one consent agreement.
In both subdivisions?
Just this
The
one.
road slope is only in this one.
In this one.
Correct.
Right.
The other
Oh,
one
okay.
is,
But once they take care of the subdivision by consent, it addresses the other one as well.
Gotcha,
But we don't
okay.
need to reference it in the other one, we can
Right.
reference just this one.
So then, I would assume the signing of the consent agreement must be a condition for the approval.
Definitely, at least a condition. And this
Yes,
one is
yeah.
before you first for preliminary, and then we gotta decide whether you wanna do final tonight or whether you wanna wait to do final, because this one didn't get preliminary yet.
Right, okay. All righty. Thanks, Alex. Sorry. Okay, Bill. Sorry, Bill.
Thank you again, Bill Thompson, BH2M Engineers, project manager for this project for Steve and Hilda Clark. Woodstone subdivision, we were back again as the last project. We were back here in April, revised some details to bring it forward, and hopefully we're leaning toward a final approval. The plans and responses again were submitted back to the planning board on May 9th, and Jim Seymour's memo, June 7th. So the memo by Jim was pretty complete, and most of the items in there, the items were in conformance. My letter, May 9th, we can go down through what I did respond to. As with the last project, well exclusion zones were extended to 125 feet from leach fields. Rest of the well zones have been revised. Some of the comments kind of capture the same thing twice. E&S control notes have been revised as we did last time with a 1-inch rainfall needing inspection. Driveway and existing house have been shown on lot 1. That is shown on the existing conditions plan. We have the house, the well, and the septic system shown. That is the first out sale that was done. And on sheet 2 on your project plans, the existing conditions show those. They may have duplicated on sheet 1 too, but sheet 2 would be where they would show as an existing condition prior to Steve forward. With proof of financial capacity, we have a cost estimate that was submitted, and that'll be managed and covered prior to any construction or building. We have reviewed the shoreline zoning section 15 land standards, and they state the minimum lot standards are 3 acres with 225 feet of frontage. Minimum setbacks are shown. No structure shall exceed 35 feet in height. The 100-year flood is shown, does not impact this development. All lots are an average of 50 feet above the flood zone elevation, or the 100-year flood zone. Each lot is designed to keep the total footprint area of structures, parking lots, and non-vegetated services to 15% of the lot. That'll be a requirement during the building permit for the code to confirm. Vegetated buffers have been established, shown on the plan. They'll be located with iron rods and buffer caps as the last project. Vernal pool study was completed. No vernal pools of special significance were found, so there's no issues with that. The only stream on the project was the far end of Lot 5, and it leaves the project site. And again, that setback area has been shown just up here. I walk away from the podium again. A little bit of a setback. It doesn't impact the lot, but again, the 75-foot setback is shown to conform with that. There is a wetland crossing, no stream, just a wetland, and that's been permitted as a wetland crossing. And again, I'll get to that. This permit, we have received the DEP stormwater permit that was submitted into the planning office. None of our lots are within 600 feet of the Great Pond, and however, we're proposing vegetated buffers on all the lots to mitigate any impacts. In Jim's summary, number 3, summary for planning board action, there's some bulleted items. We sent responses to the fire department that were requested. The road association documents are attached. Vernal pool study did not find vernal pools of special significance. The lotting plan was submitted and satisfied the planning request. Plan note 23 responds to the sunset provision related to completing the construction. Transformer locations are directed by the utility company. We do not position those. Open space of a 10% of the gross area has been described, shown on the final plan. And again, the landscape plan would have been established as indicating the existing wooded site would meet any of the street plantings and landscaping that might be required. So again, we feel like we've been through reviews, comments from Jim and the planning board, and we're requesting to be considered for final approval. Thank you.
The Army Corps permit that is required for crossing the wetland with the road do you have that, or?
No, it's been submitted. Army Corps is in a world of hurt right now with staff. The application that we submitted says it must be submitted 2 weeks prior to construction. So we've met that requirement because nothing's being constructed, but we've been pushing them. We do have the DEP permit, for the stormwater.
It seems like a pretty de minimis
Yeah,
permit
it is.
for them.
Yeah.
I don't anticipate there would be any issues with it.
No, it's just timing on their part. They had the fellow Colin that we worked with for years, great guy. He just got up and left with 1 week notice, and he was the machine that made things happen. And like a lot of agencies, DEP also, they're just hurting for staff.
Yeah, the new person is out of Connecticut, I think, for handling Maine
It's coming
permits
into
now.
the Army. Yeah. So it's been submitted. We've met the deadline of submission, and just
We can make it a condition.
we have to unfortunately wait. But the
PBR?
Well, the Army Corps is just a notification.
Notification,
Yeah,
right.
that you're impacting wetlands,
Right.
but that's part of our tier permit
Right.
with DEP. So it's kind of a double look, I guess.
Okay. We should just make it a condition, they just provide evidence that they've acquired the permit. Because we're responsible to make sure they've acquired all state and federal permits prior to construction.
And it has been submitted. Yeah.
I had one question. Bill, did you reference on the plan, I know you got these comments, but did you reference the permit number? And
Yes, I did.
Okay, perfect.
Yep. I don't know if this is working or not, but I'll step away again. Note number 25, DEP permit number 30209-NJ-A-N, approved June 1st of 2023.
Wayne, do you have any comments on this project?
You're asking me, Mr. Chair, I'm sorry.
Yeah. Are you all set with the Woodstone Lake?
Like the other one, we don't have the E911 addresses on the plan.
Right.
So it all depends on what you decide to do this evening, whether we can have some time to put the E911 on here, or whether you want to handle that separately. But my suggestion would be to make the preliminary approval this evening and table final. I mean, it'd be almost a consent item when it comes back next time with the executed agreement. And hopefully we have the Army Corps at that point too.
Mm-hmm.
I just think it puts you in a very difficult spot approving something without a consent agreement in place.
I agree.
You know, I understand they want to move, but I don't know if we're going to be any further ahead one way or the other, so.
No, I don't, with the road grade being a disqualifier, I don't think we really can give an approval without an approved consent agreement.
Right. I sort of agree with you on that.
Yeah. Wow. That's why I was questioning that consent agreement.
Right, but I think you can give it preliminary, and then if we've got it dwindled down to a couple of items next time, we can approve it, and I can also preempt the findings of fact, so we can have them prepared that evening as well, so that we don't lose another month. For
Yeah, we wouldn't want to. Yeah, we wouldn't want to go another 2 months.
No,
This is getting tight.
Yep.
So even though we already had preliminary approval 2 months ago, and we're getting another preliminary approval?
I don't, Sandy, in the records, I don't know if we just got a preliminary approval, correct? Is she there?
You can check.
Yeah,
But
Yeah, I believe that
I
they
believe we did,
give it
yeah.
preliminary the
Yeah.
last time it was there.
yeah.
I need to check, I didn't have a copy of the minutes, so.
I'll find them eventually.
There we go.
Yeah, I don't have a set here
But
either, I'm
regardless,
sorry.
I don't think we can approve it.
Yeah.
Well, you have a consent agreement agreed by all parties. It's just not signed.
It's a matter of a
Okay,
signature, and I
did-
haven't seen any paper from the town to sign that.
You haven't,
I have not received anything. This is the first I've heard.
Alex, is that between the two attorneys, or how is that being worked?
That would be Diane that needs to sign, which is why he hasn't. So it's being, yeah, it was worked on between the two attorneys. Jim Katsafikis and Thaddeus Day, I believe, is her attorney. So those guys apparently, they've been kind of working the communication between the two. But, if all else fails and Diane doesn't want to sign it, then, Steve could, I suppose.
I'll pay whatever it is, I just want to get through this.
I don't blame you, Steve.
Yeah.
So, why are we waiting for Diane to sign a consent agreement for this other project, for a separate subdivision?
Because it was her violation. They're both in violation.
I'm just on the tail end of it.
She sold all the land. She subdivided it all, even this parcel.
collateral
So
damage
it's all,
kind
it
of
was
at this
all the
point.
same violation.
Right.
In order to approve anything on this lot, we need to first resolve the violation that exists on this lot.
And the violation
And
is
that's-
the road grade.
No, the violation is the subdivision that was done without subdivision
She
approval.
split-
She owned all
Right,
three of those
okay.
lots
Yep.
at one time.
Yep, and she sold
So,
off parcels that she couldn't sell.
The road grade was included in that consent agreement because that's the only way they could do the road grade.
Okay.
And instead of doing separate consent agreements, they lumped it all into one. Which really doesn't mean anything. The only negative is there's a fine of, I think it's like $3,000 or something like that. I don't know off the top of my head, but it's somewhere around there. And so after they approved it at the select board meeting, the attorneys went back and forth, and that was the only piece that I wasn't sure if she would agree to paying that. If she didn't want to pay that, then we're in a different situation. But from what I've heard, there's no issues. But like I said, we don't have a signed copy of that yet.
So, for her to sign, does she need to give some sort of monetary amount? Is there a fine involved?
Yeah.
Yes.
So, I guess the concern I have is, in that case, maybe she won't want to sign, and then where does that put us?
That means I'll pay it at this point.
Yeah, I would assume that that's what.
Sorry, Alex, you got cut off.
Can the planning, I'm sure, I'm not questioning you at all. I'm just concerned whether or not the planning board.
I think it's
can go with
$3,000.
their
That's the
verbal
number that
assurance.
sticks out in my mind. And all
I mean,
that fine is,
I'm
it just
comfortable
covers
with
the
it
town's legal
person to person, but
expenses
planning
from day
board
one.
To you, I don't know if we can do that.
I know, it was just another goalpost that got put on the fourth
Yeah,
meeting.
no,
You know what
I
I
hear
mean?
you.
The only thing I can think of is they have preliminary. You went through this evening and you granted final. The only thing I would advise, and I don't know if Alex would agree with this or not, I thought with him too, is we wouldn't sign the final Mylar plan to be recorded until we had evidence of the.
Good with that.
Is that agreement?
Yeah, that could be just a condition of signing of the Mylar and not released until that consent, I mean, the consent agreement in theory has been agreed to. It's just getting a signature. That could be a condition of
Agreed to, but
releasing the plan.
Well, I mean, it's,
Because the fine hasn't been paid.
Right.
But if he's willing to pay.
But you've got a party here that's,
You can hold it before I start construction, I'll pay the
so
fine.
has she
Don't
signed?
volunteer to do that yet.
I don't care.
It's not that's Alex's,
Alex,
that's a code
has-
enforcement issue, that's. not
Right.
mine.
Has Potvin signed the consent agreement?
No, I don't think so.
Consent agreement, but
No.
I think you're totally fine to approve with the condition that that consent agreement be signed and the fine be paid for before, the Mylar is signed. I think that's totally fine. She could sign it tomorrow and come in and pay that tomorrow.
She will.
For all we know. It's just a matter of,
Oh, you know this?
that actually happening.
Okay.
I think you're covered. If you approve it, but you don't sign it, there's nothing can be recorded. They can't do anything until the document's recorded. This plan is recorded, or whatever plan you sign in the future is recorded. Nothing can be done until that's recorded. And you won't sign it to be recorded until evidence is provided. So it's not like a typical condition that you signed it, they record it, and the condition
Right.
becomes part of the approval. Here, you're holding up final signature until such document is presented and we know fees have been paid.
So how do we do that in a motion? Because once we approve it, we don't have another motion to sign the documentation. Once it's approved, it's approved.
but the condition is that you hold the
Yeah,
Mylar.
hold the Mylar, they can't record
Until
it, they can't do
all
anything
documentation has
with
been
the document.
submitted, yeah.
Is that, can we do that, Alex?
Yep, absolutely. I think you can, because if the condition says that, the approval is conditioned on that consent agreement being signed and the fine being paid, then I think you're good, because if it's not signed or paid, then the approval doesn't really count.
Okay,
That works.
that works.
It's in your-
Is that,
It's, yeah,
Makes sense?
it's good with me. Yeah.
it's good with you,
Yeah,
that's a
it does.
concern.
Yeah. Well, it should be. I'm a good guy.
It'd be the same as if somebody didn't pay their application fees,
Yep.
we would hold it hostage.
I definitely think that, you guys shouldn't let it hold you up. It's something that was on over a month ago at this point, and I think it's just been playing phone tag and stuff that have delayed it. I'd rather not see them get delayed another month just because of, that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we appreciate that.
Okay.
I move that we grant final acceptance with the condition that the consent agreement between the town and the applicant is executed and signed along with the pending fine. In the preliminary approval, we already had the 911
Okay.
requirement.
And we need a condition concerning the
Army Corps.
Army Corps.
And also the receipt of the Army Corps permit before construction starts.
So,
And the motion would be for both land use and shoreline zone.
correct.
Yes.
Right. Okay.
I just want to point out one thing to Bill. So we would want, they'll approve it this evening. We will sign it once we get the fees and everything paid.
Sure.
In the interim, what we'd like to see on the plan, this is new, if we could talk to the assessor to get the addresses, if we could
Sure,
put that on the
just
plan as well.
email me those and we can put them right on the plan, yeah. But
Alex, is that something we can coordinate? Hand the plan off to assessing?
So addressing is done by the fire chief. He's the addressing officer.
Okay, good.
So I don't think that'll be an issue.
Yeah, if we could just get the addresses so they can put them on the plan, so when we sign it, the addresses will already be on there, that'd be great. Wayne, is that something you might be able to facilitate as well?
Yeah, I'll work on it. I think the last time that I spoke with the chief about this, he might have been waiting for some map information, so that he could do the addressing. I don't know if that happened or not, but that would be a holdup on getting the addresses.
Okay.
He needs specific information to do that.
Okay. Well, whatever he needs, forward it on to Alex or myself.
Yeah, we have the road name and the lot numbers. We can assign
Yep.
house numbers to them. Yeah.
Yeah, we just want the house, yeah, we just want the address for the lot.
Sure.
We usually just pick the middle of the lot for the address.
Yep.
I second the motion.
All right, so I just so I've got it all captured here. It's the consent agreement for the slope and for the subdivision must be executed and fines paid, and the Army Corps permit provided evidence prior to construction.
Right.
Okay.
Does that include Ms. Potvin's signature?
That's the consent agreement.
Yeah. Okay.
This is the Army Corps prior to construction for the wetland crossing. The DEP has no jurisdiction, it's all Army Corps, so.
Yep.
And E9 and the 9/11 addresses. Okay, I'm good.
Those even have to be in the motion, if we're just gonna put them on.
You can put them on as a condition if they have it on there.
Jim,
it's
it
fine.
also has to state about meeting shoreland zoning.
Yeah, they
Yes,
had that
yeah.
in the original condition.
We whispered that on there so you wouldn't hear us.
In the original
Right,
condition.
now I heard you say it, but when Jim was saying, I think we've got it all, I wanted to make sure
gotcha.
he
No,
had
no,
it.
Oh, you
but
did
that was
really say it? Wow.
that was in the original condition. That was that was part of the original motion. So I have that. These were just the additional conditions I was just trying to capture.
Okay, gotcha.
Gotcha. Okay.
Thanks, Andy.
Way to keep me honest, though.
Can we hear what the motion was again?
Good hearing.
Okay, so we have a motion before you.
Yes, we do. Is there any other discussion? All right, so we're, is everyone okay with the motion as it all stands? Okay. All right, is there no discussion? All those in favor? And
Aye.
Kevin goes yes, so you're all set. Approved.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Are you going for the Triple Crown tonight, Bill?
Yeah.
You serve refreshments, don't you?
That's after.
Right.
Sounds good. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I think, did we table this one as well? I think we did.
I believe we did.
So,
Won't hurt. Open it up either way.
Did we do a public hearing on this?
we have it, right?
We have it. This is a public hearing, so.
This is our public forum. There it is. I think we did it.
This is Spiller Hill.
Yeah, we tabled it.
We did, yep. Deemed it complete and tabled it. So we would need a motion to remove the Peter and Donna Marsnick application from the table.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor? All
Aye.
right, that's done. Jim, you're up first.
So this is an amended subdivision, second amended for Spiller Hill. The first amendment was for the first lot that was cut out. This is the second amendment. This was part of a larger subdivision for Spiller Hill, Gaybrook lots. They're proposing a family lot to be carved out of the current lot owned by Peter and Donna Marsnick. The lot will be roughly 3 acres in size. It'll come off the existing Vibbs Way. They have shown confluence of a stream which runs parallel to Spiller Hill. They've shown us the building envelope, the well. I believe we have a test pit. Yes, we do. The applicant is here. I believe there was a waiver that was requested.
For open space.
Open space, correct, yeah, because this is such a small family plot. I think the board was on board with that, but you'll have to execute that as part of your findings. Where this is in public hearing, I'd let the applicant speak and then take public hearing.
Yep. Did I, just while you're on that, we did ask that to come in writing. Did that come in writing? Because I don't, if it did, I didn't see it.
Well, on the plan is open space request for the waiver. It's actually on the plan.
It's actually on the plan request. All right, I guess that works. Okay.
I can't, let's see here, they do have a letter here. Let me see. That's me.
That's you? It's, the request is on the plan, but the letter has to show the justification for the request.
I know we discussed it at the last.
We did.
Meeting. Well, maybe the applicant knows. Did you request this? Did you submit this in your, or did Andy, when he submitted this?
Said something about it was because it's from an older subdivision, it may not be warranted.
Right. It's a family subdivision, and last meeting we felt that it wasn't warranted because of the size and the type of family development. And be very little benefit.
Yeah, but so do we decide?
I did not see, I don't see anything in this one that there was anything submitted in formal writing for the waiver request. I'm going through it right now.
I really only bring this up because I know not that this is gonna be an issue, but we had a project returned to us from the courts because we did not have that waiver in writing with justification.
Training templates. I just don't see anything that formally.
As mentioned above, the applicant is requesting a waiver from the
requirement
because of the existing buffer that is retained along Spirit Hill Road, as well as because.
That'll work.
Yeah. That's from Bill.
I know we discussed it at the last meeting.
What date is on that? Is that the latest one?
Yeah, that's the latest.
May 9th, yeah.
That was one for the April meeting.
From May 9th. Oh, okay.
Yeah. I think we can.
Did I miss it in the
It's
letter?
on page
Yeah,
3.
it's on page 3.
Oh, okay, yeah. Yep,
That's
that's it. Yeah,
That's it.
That's
That'll
it.
work.
That'll work.
Good.
Right.
It wasn't spelled out, was it?
Oh, no.
Great, thank you.
That's what you get for picking up somebody else's subdivision.
I know, yeah.
That's right, he didn't, this was Andrew.
Wait till I talk to Andy.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, go ahead. Why don't you run through it, and then we'll open the public hearing. I don't think there's anybody interested.
Great. Again, Bill Thompson, BH2M Engineers, project manager for this Spiller Hill Road for Peter and Donna Marcinek. Again, submission was May 8th, peer review letter from Jim again. Two things out of that, there was no concern with well capacity, and the main historic preservation letter was submitted. Those were two things in Jim's memo that did not immediately meet the criteria. Now, in the cover letter, we've gone through, Andy's gone through a whole host of items. The HHE 200 design was done by Scott McLaren. Financial capacity, there are 3 accounts in that, and there is a document that Peter has that gives his name and then the Oxford Federal Credit Union. So there was a question about whose accounts are these? And I think there's adequate funds there to meet the small requirement to Viv's Way to make this work. Revised road maintenance agreement, Maine Historic Preservation, as I said, that letter was submitted. We submitted amended plans. Comments from the planning board at the meeting of April 12th. Again, the applicant requesting a waiver to provide open space was approved in 2013. The plan note 26 has been added to sheet 1. Proposed home will be sprinkled to meet the town and state requirements. Plan note 27 has been added, and Peter and I talked about it before the meeting, and it says in the requirement from the fire chief that a sprinkler system shall be part of the house construction. The 911 stream along Spiller Road has been shown, survey located, and it's the 100-foot setback. So there's no issue, no impact to that lot for buildable area or anything related to it. We did the fire truck turning templates as requested from the fire inspector. Those were submitted. They meet comfortably. LiDAR topo is added, and then seen plan note 28 for additional information. Revised roadway maintenance agreement, again, has been requested by the board. Comments from Jim Seymour's. Proposed well locations have been added. Approximate proposed driveway location has been added to sheet 1. The HHE 200 form is done. Maine Historic Preservation, some of these are duplicates, but they just ran through the whole alphabet, if you will, on the left of all these comments. Applicant financial information. Parcel does not fall within a 100-year flood. The survey located the stream along Spiller Hill Road. Revised road maintenance, again, a lot of these are just repeats. The waiver requests, which we just talked about, and then requesting a waiver because of the existing buffer that's retained along Spiller Road. The applicant intends to keep a wooded buffer along Spiller Road, and the board has asked the awareness of the stream, and that's all shown with the proper setbacks. There was discussion about the shape of the lot or whatever, but the applicant would prefer to keep the lot as currently configured. And it's our understanding the parcel falls within the rural zone, and see notes 7 and 10. Detail on sheet 2 has been revised as requested, and the approximate house and driveway have been shown. Comments from the fire inspector have been handled and maintained. The proper access, there's no limitations of coming and going from the Viv's Way in the event a fire truck needs to get in there. So that, and again, the submission booklet had the HHE 200 form, has the financial numbers, the template radiuses for the turning, the maintenance agreement copy is there.